Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Council. It's your girl, Cosette.
Lexi.
And Rachel.
And today we are talking about the honeymoon phase. What is it? How long does it last?
Forever.
I hope so.
It better.
But we're going to talk. What is like the first thing that you guys think of when you think of honeymoon phase?
6 months. 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
Oh, time.
We're thinking numbers.
We're thinking time. I
Okay.
think those like giddy feelings of like, you know, where you're just exploring someone new and you have yet to discover the first annoyance and you have yet to just have the first fight. It's just pure, oh my gosh, we can both never do anything wrong and we just want to like snuggle each other and like bask in the ooey gooiness, which is such an important part of a relationship. But as we all know, the first annoyances and icks come and the first fights come and kind of like wash away the unrealistic expectations of a relationship and get into the like, hey, this is, if it's for the long haul, we're gonna have to get through this. So
yeah, exactly.
that's honeymoon.
I feel like when I think of it, I think of just, I guess, how naive people can be and how much bless you. I think when I see someone who's so clearly in the honeymoon phase and they're like everything is perfect, it just makes me think like, okay, you have to be realistic. Like that's not gonna last forever. That's, you know.
I feel like it's normal to have, you know, bicker and banter between you. I feel like it's healthy. Like if nothing is
We've
absolutely
talked about
wrong,
it. We're like, you should be able to fight with each other and have
expressing their
conflict.
emotions.
Yeah. Someone, you're right. Someone is masking some huge
Someone's not
emotions underneath.
speaking up.
Someone's, yeah. I agree with that.
But how I started this with a number. How long do you guys think a honeymoon lasts?
Look at you steering the conversation. I think it's probably, I think from like being official, like boyfriend and girlfriend, it's so tough because this is a common conversation. Like, when do you count? I feel like 5 to 6 months from meeting them. When it comes to like boyfriend and girlfriend, I think within 2-3 months to being serious, that's like on the longer end. I think when you start being official with someone, those things usually come out sooner rather than later.
I agree with that. I think when you put a label on it, well, at least in my relationship, like then you've had those like important discussions, and so then you kind of like move in a different direction. We're like, okay, let's actually like think for the long haul. How is this gonna work? And most of the time, though, that's when like the differences and the arguments come up because you're like, oh, we're figuring out like just our differences and how we're communicating with each other. But I would agree with that. I feel like by 6 months. And like when I'm reflecting on my current relationship, that's probably when
you're seeing like every form of them.
Yeah,
all their
like
quirks.
You know, we're no longer
Mr. Perfect.
I don't want to. Yeah, I was like, Mr. Right has turned not into Mr. Perfect. But like, I think with that honeymoon phase, you know, maybe the honeymoon phase ends, but the comfortability sets in. Like you're not afraid to do all the things in front of them that you may like rush home to go do, as us girls do. Like, you know, you're okay kind of unshielding yourself and being like, well, this is me. I like unfiltered. So
yeah, I
feel like that's the good
saw this like skit the other day of like the girl before you guys become official and she's all done up, and then the second she becomes the girlfriend, she like transforms into her true
I saw
form.
that too.
I love that.
And it's like,
I saw that too.
It's as much as guys can be like, oh yeah, when you make her your girlfriend, like she'll stop caring about her appearance. It's more about just being comfortable.
It's comfortable. You feel like a safe place.
Yeah,
and, like,
exactly.
Showing all sides of you.
Yeah.
Glammed up or glammed down.
So some may argue that that's when the honeymoon phase ends, is when you stop putting effort into your appearance and like stop valuing the novelty of the relationship in a way.
Oh, I see that last part too. But this is hard. And I think especially in this group, we're always trying to brainstorm and think about how we can, you know, either put some spice in the relationship or how we can always show our partners that we're caring or being spontaneous. Like we're constantly generating ways to make the relationship still feel new and loving and create like, I just feel like we are always just on that.
Oh, I never want that to end.
That's why I'm like, I don't know. Like I know the honeymoon phase is over, but I never want it to feel old or stale or non-moving and stagnant and just like we're not growing. Like I always want to be fun and creative and like, you know, I
tell my partner that every single day I'm learning something new about him, even if it's like the smallest thing, you know. I'm always learning how you act, your thoughts, and
because they're changing too. Like, you know, they've talked about or they, this mysterious entity. But like as married couples or people who are in relationships for a long time, they forget to check in with each other. And after 10 years, your partner's a whole new person. They're completely changed. Maybe like goals have shifted or wants or style, anything from small to big. They're a new person. And if you forget to check in, of course you run that risk of like going in different directions. So every day it's a chance to just rediscover and check in and say like, oh my God, I didn't know I thought your favorite food was tacos. Now it's pizza. Cool. Like that's a lame or like
no,
but it's like
cute.
It's
like
the little things like, oh, you used to like your coffee this way and now you are into
maybe you have a different preference.
Right. And I think that's such a fun part of staying on top of your relationships that always makes it feel new and like you're with someone new and someone like
and I
know,
feel
I think
like
you can always be playful and fun.
I feel like jumping off that, I wanted to throw out the game that literally Cosette let me borrow, and and you borrow, and I literally love
Tried
it.
to borrow.
We're not really strangers.
You know what's so funny?
That's my absolute favorite game.
I've been looking for that game for so long. I know you returned it to me, and last night in the pouring rain, I decided to clear out my trunk, and it was in a bag in my trunk. So I just found it, and I took it back out, and I was like, oh, I need to...
Maybe you can play it tonight.
Yeah, but my sister also got me this game for Christmas called Talking Hearts, and it's a similar card game that prompts you with these questions that you can ask a significant other. And I love those, I'm a big proponent of those games. So I want to ask you girls, do you think it's possible to revive a honeymoon phase after it fades? And how, if so?
I do.
I would think so.
I do.
I would hope so.
I think it kind of takes effort on both parties.
Yeah.
And I think anything in a relationship takes both people to want it to work, because we've talked about it before. Love isn't something that's just a guarantee. You have to work on it every day. Even if you're mad with this person, you have to make that like conscious choice. I'm working through it with this person. They're worth it. And we need to go through this season that's hard or loving and like push through to that next chapter. And that like, and so I think both people have to make it want to work. And I don't know. I think games help. There's so many games out there that could be either sexy or fun or enlightening. Like there's so many different ways, whatever works for you and your person, to connect and like reignite that, like, I don't know, that side of you.
I feel like don't stop dating each other.
Never
Never stop dating each other.
The biggest tip.
Like, if, you've been with someone for a long time and you're saying it's stale, well, what are you doing in the relationship then? Like,
someone stopped putting effort in.
Yeah.
Like someone stopped dating their partner.
Keep on pursuing your partner, getting to learn them, doing new activities. There's billions of activities. Like, you can't say that you did everything.
Taking interest in your partner. That makes your partner feel good and confident, and they're going to want to like put that back into the relationship. So when you show your partner that like you find them fascinating and that you're curious about them, I'm sure that's going to make them feel like, wow, they're really into me. That feels so good. Like let's continue that
keep this
fun.
going.
Yeah. That was what I wanted to talk about next, which you both have already touched on, is like ways to keep the spark alive after that honeymoon phase has ended. I think games are a great way, and I think a lot of times when we see our partner maybe start something new that they're passionate about or get really into a new sport, it can kind of like re-enlighten the spark in their eyes and create a new, sorry, that crack was so aggressive, create a new, kind of like your partner sees you in a new light and sees you in a new way. And I've seen that a lot in like movies and TV shows where after years of marriage or after years of like a stale relationship, all of a sudden they feel like they were dating each other for the first time again.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's like that song. What, like, if what? Oh my goodness.
Find it. You get the. You got
well,
it.
I know a line of it, but I don't know the beginning part.
What's
like,
the line? Maybe we can help.
If you like making love at midnight.
Oh,
what's
the pina coladas.
Yeah.
Do you like
beginning?
pina coladas?
And they find
That's
out
true.
it's them.
They reconnect.
And they're like, I didn't know you liked that. I didn't know. It's like, they were in the same house and they realized they like each other and they have so much in common, but they forgot to check in with each other. And then finding that again, they're like, what the heck? Like, there's a reason why we connected. There's a reason why we're together and married or wherever you are in your relationship. So find that and do that. Like,
I think check-ins are so important. And like for me, I'm like, let's do weekly check-ins just cuz
I'm all for check-ins all the time.
I feel
Yes,
like
check-ins, please.
Check-in.
check-in. No, but like, you know, at least a couple times a month you should be able to sit down and express how you're feeling, what made you
And
feel
it
a
doesn't
certain
have to
way.
be a daunting project. Like, you can do it. Let's go to a park. Let's have lunch.
Yeah.
Let's make a game. Let's make a date day of these check-ins so it doesn't feel like, oh my God, we're about to rip each other apart.
Well,
No, let's
Yeah.
like make it fulfilling and be like,
Yeah.
what did you do well this week?
Yes, also
what did I struggle with this week? Whether in the relationship or separate. Like, what was, you know?
The check-ins don't need to be all negative. They
No.
could be positive, highlighting the great things that your partner showed you this week.
And I think that's something we can really touch upon in like honeymoon phase is I think sometimes we forget to thank our partners for the small things and to remember to thank them. Like, thank you for putting the dishes in the dishwasher, or thank you for helping me with this, or hey, thanks for getting my car fixed. Like, reminding each other that we're grateful for the things that maybe became routine.
And they're not just expected.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great way
Totally.
of just like, again, reminding our partners that we're appreciative of them and we see them, we see what they're doing from day to day. And that goes a long way too in making you feel like, I saw an interview and where people feel their best, like, you took care of the chores. Now I feel like I can be free.
Katy Perry?
Yeah. I was not going to say it, but like, all right, you read it. But like,
She said like the biggest turn on that you could have for
is,
me
like,
is doing the dishes.
doing the dishes. And I will do a lot of things for you and to you.
I know
but
what you're talking about.
I know. And it's so true because when you feel like, especially as women, we have this expectation of being not only now being career oriented and making sure that we're equal and we show that we're equal, but we also have to maintain the house and do all these things and be a million things and then also be okay and be happy and do smile. Like, we're expected to do all that, and people forget that we're human and that doing the chores is for both people.
Yep.
And when your partner, you have someone that's willing to take on the tasks with you, that shouldn't be something that's like, oh my God, thank you so much for doing the dishes tonight. But when they do, and you're allowed to then just relax, I just feel like a new person when I'm like, that's taken care of. Like,
That's why acts of service is such a big love language for me.
I know.
It's about reading your partner, you know, not both of you cannot every day show up 100%, you know. It might be 70% one day and 30 the other day. The 30% you could have had the most crazy, long, exhausting day, minimal sleep, and that's when you know, okay, this day I need to step up for my partner. And then the next day he can step up for you, and it's just a balance, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think another great idea, like the Mike Chronicles. I had it down here for a while,
Ongoing.
but I decided to give it another chance, and it just failed me. Something
I know,
that
we want to see the Delulu. We want to see has everyone seen it?
Delulu is the Salulu.
Yep.
Delulu.
That's our
You wanna
motto
say
here.
it?
That's Rachel.
Delulu is a Salulu, and
Yeah.
it's Tralulu.
And it's Trululu. So something
That's new to me.
something that one of you maybe inspired, or one of us inspired, and I think it was you when you first started dating Mr. Right. And I have a running list now too, is a list of date ideas in your notes. Or was it you and
I think it was.
I think we've
I
all
did
done
have
that
it.
at some point.
Well,
I
I
said
know
we
you
need to add
had
it
an
to our
ex
list.
who started a list that
Yeah.
he was gonna do with
Yeah.
you, and then you generated one, and then we started.
Putting,
We're like,
we did put
oh,
one
let's-
together.
Oh, we had a
Let's do
shared
something
list,
together.
right? Yeah. But I think that's a really great way to keep the spark alive, and having really, maybe you're on Reels and you discover a cool spot that you really want to try with that person. It's so fun to have these experiences together. And even like traveling and we're, especially in California, you can take a trip out to freaking Catalina Island, or
Oh,
like there's so
yeah.
many incredible
The
little
desert,
you could
Big
go-
Bear.
weekend
you could go
trips.
15 minutes in one direction. You're in a completely different vibe and feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could pretty much be a tourist in your own city.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
there's so many different places and
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that getting fresh with date ideas is a really great idea, and also to make it a little bit more interactive, perhaps writing them on flashcards and then randomly selecting them some
That's
nights.
fun.
That's fun.
I
I
had-
know you've.
I had done this where
Mhm.
it ended up never being used, but I
But it
had
was such a wonderful
in a past
idea.
relationship I had like One color was the date idea that we're doing. The other color was like some funny challenge that we had to meet while we were out. Like we have to wear pajamas, or we have to wear the color red, or we have to thrift our outfit on the way there.
Honestly, my youngest brother would love this idea.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
already
he
gonna,
would.
Like,
He
he would eat this up. Like they love one of their favorite activities is going to thrift stores together and picking out outfits for each other.
I love
and
that.
they
So
wear
much
them on
fun.
dates.
I think that's so fun.
They love it.
I've done that with friends before.
I'm like, stop being so cute. Like, why? But they would love that idea where it's like a pairing kind of thing.
Well, if they're listening to this episode, well then you can
Carly,
you can take that
I know
idea.
you are.
Yeah,
I know
we
you
know
are.
you. We know you listen, girl.
We know you listen.
So you can steal that idea from me because I ended up never using it.
No, when you said that idea, it was like I thought it was so. I mean, the thought, and again, the initiative you took to like make sure the relationship stayed in that honeymoon-esque feeling.
Mhm.
Like it doesn't have to grow old. You can always do something fun with each other. And I think when you stop dating, it's the easiest way to stop that honeymoon phase. And when you continue to date them and do that, then that honeymoon phase is just prolonged forever. And it is such a great feeling. And just to ride off your ideas, I think another great idea is kind of going off that like date list ongoing thing is trying something new for both of you, finding those things that neither one of you have done and adding that to a list as well. Like whether it's a new country, a new restaurant, a new activity, like
a show even that you both just start
show,
together.
Like, first are, I think, a great way of associating that like activity and love with each other. You know, there's always those restaurants where you're like, I remember the first time I went here, it was like this scenario, whether it was friends or someone, family, you just have an association with like discovery. And when you discover a new activity or a new place or a new thing together, I think that's also a great way to connect and be like, that was so much fun. Like we both just went bungee jumping. How sick was that? You know, like I think that's a great way to like feel like a child again and feel like giddy and alive and be like, we just did something new with each other for the first time. Like, I love that.
We've talked about this before, but I'm going to bring back around this rule that we had talked about where it was a date night every 2 weeks, a weekend trip every 2 months, and every 2 years an international trip.
I think it's a great rule.
And
it's an
that's
easy
just
rule
like,
to live by.
it's just a way to keep that consistent time for one another and know that you are, no matter how many years you're together, you're still going to reserve that time for one another.
It's kind of like, what is it? Date night? Where Steve Carell and Tina Fey, they're doing their obligatory like Friday night dinner and they go out and then something happens and, you know, it changes their whole night and they just, during that process, they like realize, you know, how much fun they can have together, but also that they need to learn to like rely on each other a bit more as a couple and stop being so isolated in what they're expected to do and like just support each other. And it was like a really fun movie because, you know, it's a comedy. So I'm not trying to,
I don't know
like,
if I've seen it.
I'm not trying to make it into this.
Seen it.
Really? Like, you know, he gets home from work. The movie starts off where he gets home from work. She's already dressed up in her date night outfit. And he's like, wow, you look like amazing. And she's like, we don't have to go on date night. He's like, no, like, let's do it. Like, Friday night is reserved. We already have the babysitter. And, you know, they both have that realization, like, is this relation, you know, where I don't want to, like, I'm not trying to go into a synopsis.
No, please
but
do.
It's just, I think it's such a great reminder that, you know, you should have fun with each other. Life happens and there's so much that throw at you. It's fun to go through life with someone else to help with that. And to have those same experiences and you know, shared sadnesses and joys and ups and downs and you should lean into that feeling. Like,
It's nice to have someone you could rely on.
Yeah.
And the honeymoon phase is really fun, but if it does end, which it likely will end, as does everything in life.
Thanks, Cosette.
As this flower will wilt,
it's
so will
not
your
a bad.
relationship.
The end of the honeymoon phase is just the beginning of something so much more deep and valuable and worthwhile, because the reason there's such a fascination and our chemicals and our serotonin and dopamine levels are so high in the honeymoon phase is because we have blinders on and we haven't actually dealt with a lot of those real life scenarios. And this is referring to the initial honeymoon phase. Of course, there's so many ways to reignite that spark later down the line, but when you first start dating someone, you're going to go through that honeymoon phase. No matter how much you're like, oh my God, it's never going to end. you will probably have
will.
arguments. Literally, it's what life is.
And it should
But
be embraced.
yeah, it
It's
should
gonna
be
happen.
embraced. And hopefully these are just like some tips to help keep reserving time for one another, keep prioritizing your time with each other, no matter how crazy life gets, work gets. There are going to be really crazy stressors in life, like buying a house and having children and just things that are unpredictable.
Someone moves, or you have to move
Yeah.
as like there's just everything that life can throw at you.
It will.
It can and will. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, it
Murphy's
will.
law. It will.
Life is
So
unexpected.
you
We're
might as
like
well.
we are wise old women. We're like all in our 20s.
We
But true.
we've been through it all. We're
Yeah.
here sitting with you, telling it like it is. No, we're
But I think this helped me ignite, like reignite. I have a date list, a running dates list in my notes, which I don't think I've ever told him, so maybe he'll learn it on this podcast. But
because he listens.
he listens.
He's our number one fan.
He's
Oh,
our
truly.
he's Cosette's number one fan, and then the podcast's number one.
Of
fan.
course.
Like
But it's just really fun it's just a fun way to be able to see a little activity that you get on your reel and be like, I want to do this with that person.
that's the thing is like you want to share that experience with that person. That should that's such a good feeling.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you're the person I want to share this with. So
Yep.
carry that on.
Carry that on and
I was gonna have that one.
and keep calm and carry it
Yep,
on.
that's what I was gonna. I was like, no, don't.
And
You did it.
communicate.
You did it.
Have those weekly check-ins, monthly check-ins, whatever is a good balance for you. Communicate how you feel, because if you don't, then they won't know.
Absolutely. Pack your bags because you are going on a
honeymoon.
honeymoon. Thanks, guys, for watching. Signing off. This is Cosette.
Lexi.
And Rachel.
Bye.